Alright, we're going to tie a streamer called a Boogeyman. I don't tie a lot of these streamers, these articulated big streamers, but I do like this one, and I've had some luck with it, so I'm going fishing tomorrow, so I figured I'd tie it and make a video. There's a couple of videos on it on YouTube already of this. I do things just a hair differently. The hook I'm using is a Predator Trout. It's a size 4 there. I can use a 2 as well. Sometimes people use a 2 in the front and a 4 in the back or something like that. I'm just going to use two of these number 4s. The thread I'm using is Vivus Gel Spun. This is 100, and I just threw some wax on it too. It's very slippery. It's very slippery. It's strong but slippery. The tail is white marabou. And I think probably the right move is to use 2. Marabou works, but man, do I hate it. It's disgusting. It just gets everywhere. It's bulky. It looks terrible, but it works, and that's why you gotta put it on. That's really what it comes down to. If you put your nail through here, you'll get a lot of the fibers off, and it reduces the bulk. Sometimes the bulk's good if you want to build stuff up. Tail's like a little bit longer than that's probably about a hook. A hook is probably good. Put it on tight. Clip it off. Give yourself some room at the front. Ugh. I hate this stuff. Oh, that's good. All right, the body is 2 things. It's a piece of Schlappen, right? White rooster hackle, and I also mix it with this polar chenille. This is the long stuff. And some people use a short one. Some people use a long one. And usually, what people do is they'll put whatever they use. The flash-wise, they'll put that on first and then wrap the hackle. I don't do that. I just make one small little change, and that's I kind of twist them together, which just gives it some strength. I'll show you how we do that. So we'll tie this in. Really crank down on it. These little hairs that are coming out, you don't have to worry about that. And the Schlappen we're going to tie in with the tip. Yeah, that's good. Now, one thing I should say about this Schlappen is that I took 2 feathers out. And you'll see here, this is the big one and this is the small one in the back. So you're creating a taper by the size of the feather. Okay. So now we're going to tie this in, cut off the tip. Okay, so we're leaving some room at the head here, but we're going to go pretty close. Now, what I do here is I just take these 2 things, right, and I put them together. See that? And then I just twist them. Another good addition to this is to add a wire. You'd have 3 things. You'd have the Schlappen, the chenille, and the wire together. This is good enough. So, once you get it twisted up, don't go nuts. It's not like you're spinning dubbing, because you could twist this thing right off. Brush out. See that? Just brush it out. Make sure all the fibers are free. Because in reality, all you want is that chenille to be twisted around the stem. That's good. And hold it. Try and get it to one side. I'm essentially doubling it, but I'm not going crazy. Okay. So now we're going to wrap, and we'll wrap them pretty close. Now, one thing is that sometimes this can untwist on you, so you might have to give it a little with your hands. See what I'm doing there? Just to give it a little twist. I remember I used to be involved in architecture, and when I was going through school to learn how to draft and everything. I started before there was computer-aided drafting, and we had to learn hand drafting, and which seems ridiculous nowadays, but one of the things you had to do is you always had to draw while twisting your fingers. So you'd write, and as you would write, you would spin the pencil in your hand. It sounds crazy, but what you were doing is that you were making it so that the pencil didn't have a flat side on one side. You were essentially keeping it sharp by twisting it. And it was something I practiced probably for a couple of years until I got it, and then computer-aided drafting came out, and that was the end of that. So I didn't need to learn that, but I did. Just making sure nothing's trapped in here. And I'm keeping the turns pretty close. Now, I'll be a little short here, but that's okay, because I can always add a piece if I need to. Just take a look at it right now. You can always just put one turn. Of white. And I'm also going to fold this back. So I got it tied in, and then I folded it back. This is for fishing, and it makes sense to do that. It's a whole ton stronger. So I picked the perfect length of chenille. Just made it. Kind of left a little bit too much here. Really gonna only do like 2 turns. Now we got to add a piece of mallard feather at the front, but that's it, and that really doesn't take much room, so I'll try and just cap this off pretty close. Yeah, it looks like I'm adding a lot more than a couple of turns. I think that's good. Now the mallard feather should go. This is kind of dark. It's a short one. I mean, we'll use a light one. I don't care about the quality too much. As long as it's kind of fairly straight, I think that's good enough. Yeah. Like that. But it's got to be right on top. So if if it looks like it's going to move on you, put a little crease in it. And then fold it back. Because in reality, you only got, man, this thread is so slippery. Here it is. You only got a few turns to hold it in, so you really got to fold it back. Also, these whip finishes, they with the gel spun, not that good. So you really got to be quick about this. And super glue is usually better because it dries quicker. And you don't have to worry about the whip finish slipping out. So we'll let that dry, and I'll get my my articulation set up. We're going to use a piece of mono, not wire or a shank or anything like that. I'll get it set up. I'm going to put a couple of spacers in here as well. Okay, I got the front hook here. Same hook. And the spacer I'm going to use is these, just got it from a craft store. They're not metal. They come in all different colors. You can get a bag of like multicolored ones. But they're plastic with a color coating on them and a hole in the center. And this hole's pretty big. It's kind of perfect to get your articulation wire, or in my case, a 15-pound mono. A lot of people like to use that wire. I don't really see a big difference. 15-pound, I mean, doubled. I don't see how it's going to break. I wax this gel spun. It makes it a little bit easier if you wax it when you do this sort of stuff. So I go up. I try and keep it on top. And I leave a piece out. See how there's a big piece of waste there? Because you got to fold it over. There's more of a chance of it pulling out if you don't fold over than it breaking. So there it is. And then halfway is fine. There's no way that could pull out now. Then we put the beads in. I was thinking about using 3, but I think 2 is probably the right move because I'm trying to keep this thing small. It's winter. Small is probably better. Small is probably better. So I got the 2 beads in there. Then I take the part I made already. And I put it through, see that? And then I put it back through the beads. Now, you got to be careful here because if you don't attach this right, it's going to swim all crooked on you. And I'll show you what I mean. Sometimes it requires putting a bunch of thread down. Because see, what happens here is that if you put this wire on the side down here somewhere, it's gonna make this back half turn like this. You actually need it to be right on top, which means that's why I tied all the way back, because you need a real good base. I'm going to tie forward again too. This is another good reason to have some wax on there, because when it sits on top, you don't really want it to slip. But you need a real good base of thread, because you need to get it on top. And you don't need this thing to be long. So we'll tie it in, and then we'll make sure it's on top. by just looking at it from up here. Yeah. Seems a little crazy, but this is what you got to do. Then you can take off some of this so it's out of your way. And then keep an eye on it from the top as you wrap down. So not only does it have to be on the top, but it also can't be twisted. If it moves on you, bring it back. This is a mistake that I made when I was first started tying these. I'd tie them up real quick and then I'd go out and fish them, and the thing would be like upside down, and I'd be like, what in the hell's going on here? I couldn't figure it out. And this is the exact reason. You gotta make sure that it's on top. I would say that's all right. You can keep going too, but make sure that it's good. So that should swim all right there. And we'll go back up quick. We'll lock it off by going in front, and then we'll go back, and then we'll fold this one over. This one doesn't matter. This one can just be folded over wherever. Alright, body done. Looks like it's straight up. That's what we'll want. Maybe I'll adjust the camera a little bit. Alright, give me a second. That's a little bit easier to see. The next part I'm going to do, I'm not sure if this is on the original or not, but I'm just going to try and cover up this spot here a little bit. And I'm going to use Marabou. And here's the piece right here. So I'm going to take the tip out of this. That's all I'm going to use is this tip. And I'm going to just, I'm not using much. I'm not going too far into the back half. I'm just putting half on either side. Essentially tying it right on top. And then squeezing it, putting it on top and squeezing it around. Do a pinch and loop and then see where we're at. I don't want to be that long. That's it. So just a little bit of cover, not much. Now we're going back to the Schlappen and the Chenille. And but actually first we're gonna first we're gonna put the eyes in because we gotta know where to stop. Now I am using just some of these large dumbbell eyes. Is the weight on here? There's no weight, but I can tell you that they're heavy. These are pearl. This stuff, I mean, you hit a couple rocks and it's over. So in reality, I mean, it's, it looks good when you put it on, but it's pretty much toast within the first hour of fishing. I'm going to tie them on the bottom. And make sure you got a good space up in front of them. A real good space, because you got to tie in the head. I mean, you can put some super glue in here. I doubt very highly this helps. Super glue. I doubt it. I doubt it helps. But I think we all do it. That's in there. Will it twist? Yeah, probably, but I did my best. Let's go back now remember, we don't need that many turns to get to here. We're going to stop right there. So, and you need some big stuff. So definitely make sure when you tie in at the tip, you tie pretty far up, because you want to get to the big fibers quick. Yeah. That's looking good right there. Chenille, I kind of like to just take off some of the chenille at the tip to get, the flash part. Just so I'm tying right into the core. Not that much, I mean, just a little bit. Oh, this piece is falling apart on me here. Okay, new piece. So what happened there was, the reason it fell apart was because I didn't tie in. See the end right here? If you don't tie in the whole end, and like maybe it's I don't know, it's cut a little short, all the ends aren't together, and you tie in like 2 of the 3 ends, then when you pull it, you're gonna pull that one end that isn't tied in, and it'll just unravel on you. That's what happens. So just be careful of that. So we're going to end basically right there. We get our Schlappen, we get our chenille, we're going to give it a twist. We're going to brush it out just like we did before. And I'm ending with like the fluff at the top, which is okay. That's what I want. And then, ooh, almost got my finger caught on that hook. That's the worst part of tying these things, these articulated stuff. The hook will just nail you. I'm good for every couple of these. I nail myself pretty bad. Now I want to make sure we get to where we want to get. I do think we'll get there. Okay. There it is. So now I'm tying in behind the eyes, and then I'm going to kind of go in front. Get some more turns in there. I'm going to stay away from the eye of the hook, though. Folding this back. See how it twisted there? It's unbelievable. I put in probably 100 turns, and it still rotates on you. Okay. So that's what we got now. Oh, I'm fouled up on the vise. Now we got to put in another mallard feather. This one I'm going to go just a little bit darker. Like that. And I'm going to go just past the articulation, so shorter than that. There we go. tied in good. And remember, it's got to be right on top. Then I'm going to go forward again with a couple turns, and then clip it, and then go back. Now what this is doing here is this is allowing me to have a bigger area to tie the stem onto. If I clipped it off, before the dumbbells, obviously would just be in about like 1/8 of an inch. So that's, if you can see, I think you can see now, it sort of tapers into this one. That's what we want. The mallet feather you want to use is something fairly straight. That's what you want. If it curves a little bit weird, then from the top it won't look like a taper. Some people say it won't swim right if it has like a little bit of I don't think that at all. But I do think it'll look strange. So the head. A lot of people use what's a good one? Laser dub. Laser dub's a good one. Some people just use wool. I think that's traditionally what it was, wool. What I'm using is this is Icelandic Sheep. So essentially this is kind of like wool, but it definitely feels different than wool. And this stuff is really long, so it's extremely long. But I'm not using the actual length. Let me take it out for you. This is made by, who is this made by? Symbai. I think that's how you say it. S-Y-B-A-I. This stuff's pretty cool. There's only specific really times you can use this stuff because it's so long. I mean, this stuff is ridiculously long, incredibly long. But I'm not using the long part. What I'm actually going to use is the fluff of it. So what I do is I take off a bunch like this. See that? Take off a bunch. And I get my scissors, but you need a good pair of scissors. Where are they? I lost my scissors. Oh, there they are. Okay. Now we're going to cut this off, but we're going to cut it off right against the skin. I mean, right close to the skin. I wanted to use these pair of scissors. Big. You need really deep jaws on the scissors. So now you got this. This is the stuff you want. And right when it gets a little bit wispy, that's where you need to cut it off. See that? It seems like a waste that you cut off this part, but you can save it, I mean, if you really want to. There's a lot more uses for this, though. I can tell you that for sure. Now, we take it and all we do is we put this big clump right on top. Right on top. And then we get in there with 2 turns and we really crank into it. And we get another piece. And you can even use, see how I made this cut off here? You don't need much at the bottom. The top is the key. So this still is even pretty good for the bottom. If you hold it with one hand and then, see that? Allows you to keep it together. And then we'll just do a pinch and loop here. Now remember, when you do this, make sure that you get into that same spot you tied the top one in, because the key to this thing is that space needs to disappear. See that? Space needs to disappear. So it's good to get it right in there. And brush it back good, and then tie in front of it. Now, clearly it looks like massive, but don't worry about that. At the end we trim it, like deer hair. Deer hair looks ridiculous until you trim it. Same process. Make sure it's on top though. The plow is here, plowing the driveway. I don't know if you can hear that. We had like an ice storm last night. It was incredible. I was really scared it was hail, but it was just small pieces of ice. And now the driveways are a total disaster. Alright. Got a pretty big piece here. I think this is just a little too much, but we can take off this part and use it for the bottom. This will be good for the top. Now remember, we're in front now. So you're gonna put it in. Now you don't want this to spin like deer hair. I don't know if I mentioned that, but doesn't spin. You're actually, I mean, if you know anything about deer hair, there's a term called stacking, where you're just tying it in a certain position. And that's essentially what this is. You're essentially stacking it. Yep, the eye is there, that's good. Now we're getting this bottom piece. And this one doesn't have to be as long, so I'm going to take off some of just the end. Now remember, you got to go in that same spot. Make sure it's on the top. And then keep it tight and bring this stuff back and expose the eye of the hook. Really looks like a mess right now. It really looks ridiculous. It's tight. It's tight. And this is white thread, so you don't have to really get too close when you cut this off. Sometimes it's good to actually even leave a little bit hanging off for now. Alright, so now we got to take care of this twisted on me. Now we got to take care of this mess. Curved pair of scissors is the best thing. Let me move this a little bit here for you. Yeah, that's perfect. Take off a little bit at a time. If you've never done this before, you'd be surprised at how much you can really take off and it look good, but you don't want to screw it up. I mean, you can go back. It's not that bad to go back. And one good tip is to super glue the hell out of that head before you tie this stuff on, and let it dry. Don't tie it to this when it's sticky. But what you're essentially doing is turning that head part into a solid just block of thread. And then if you have to take this off, you can come in with a razor blade, cut it all off, and not worry about trimming the thread. And that's what I used to do when I first started doing deer hair. I would just super glue the hell out of the thing. and then I would screw up naturally, and I just take it off just with a razor blade, just cut it straight off. This stuff's very forgiving too, so it's not really like deer hair. This stuff, even if you do cut it too short, sometimes it doesn't even matter. It's amazing how the stuff just keeps on appearing. It really is amazing. Now I try and trim the sides too, because I want that head to be really thin. And I also want the eyes to show. So let's take a look at this little part right here. I should see my desk right now. Probably the best move is to take this thing off the vise and just clip it over a garbage pail. All right, now super glue. All I do is just lick my fingers here and pull everything back and drop it right in there. Don't try and avoid the sheep. It's just not worth it. And then you can clear out the eye. You can always clear out the eye. That super glue is going to just mash it in a little bit too, so you can fix that if you feel like it. You can just taper it a hair. You know what I mean? It gives it like a flat look, because you're pulling it back and then essentially gluing it there. But I think that is good. That's it. Let me get the whole thing in the view. Take it out here. Looking at it head on here, just seeing if yeah. So looking at it head on. You can see some small issues that I'm going to fix now. There it is. That's even. It's pretty even at least. There we go. Boogeyman. Pretty easy streamer. Pretty easy streamer. I probably should tie one without weight somehow and just put some, I don't know, stick-on eyes or something like that. Because I've been fishing a lot of non-weighted flies lately, but it's always good to have a weighted one. And I've only tied this in weighted, and I've had luck, so I think it's probably the right move. But a non-weighted one would be nice to have as an alternate. You could see the taper there. Yeah. Right into the mallard. Looks pretty good, fairly straight. Head looks good. I like that. The head looks real good. This Icelandic sheep, I tell you, that stuff is really cool. It's like the only thing I use it for is heads, honestly. And I tell you, it works. I got it at Zeddy. I'll put the links for the hook and this Icelandic sheep, and I guess even the Schlappen. Everybody has a Schlappen though, but I did actually get this Schlappen just the other day at Zeddy. I happened to pick up a package, I don't know, a month or so ago, and it said white on it. This was from a different place, and I brought it home, and when I was I put it in my drawer and it happened to land next to something else that was white, and I was like, wait a second, this doesn't look white. It had like a pinkish hue to it. It was like a washed out, very washed out pink, and I was like, oh, for Jesus' sake. You don't realize it until you put it up against something that's white. So I picked up another package, and that's like, it's white. I got it right here, actually. It's kind of a funny situation. But this is the package I just picked up the other day. And this is the package that I got. And I bet you can tell right now that this has a little pinkish hue to it. But you don't realize it until you get it next to something white. And when you're tying an all white fly and you put this on, that's what happened too. I was like, this will work fine. And you put it on there, I was like, no, it sticks out like a sore thumb. So white, all white. Keep your eyes on that. All right, Boogeyman. Thanks a lot.